already been exposed. Seeing that there was no way to hide, Tang Xiao simply stopped concealing himself and stepped out of the shadows. The fourth Hokage and his wife are truly as famous as they say. What a brilliant maneuver. Minato Namikaze stood up, panting slightly, and vigilantly sized up the strange figure before him. Who exactly are you, and what is your purpose? Tang Xiao did not beat around the bush and stated his demand directly. Hand over the Flying Thunder God technique, along with all the ninjutsu you possess. Minato Namikaze empathized with Hiruzen Sarutobi from just a moment ago. Where did this genius come from? The Flying Thunder God requires an extremely strong perception of space. Since the second Hokage created it, I am the only one who has mastered it thanks to my special spirit. Even if I gave it to you, it would be impossible for you to control. Tang Xiao sneered. You don't need to worry about that. The surrounding nine-tailed became increasingly violent and restless, its scarlet, ferocious eyes locking onto this area. Uzumaki Kushina had no time to attend to Tang Xiao on the side. She exerted all her strength to drive her spirit, binding the nine-tailed tightly and sealing it within an independent space, completely severing its connection to the outside world. Seeing this, Tang Xiao was overjoyed. Although there had been twists along the way, he had finally succeeded in trapping his opponents as he had wished. Fourth Hokage, obediently hand over the ninjutsu. Otherwise, your wife and child will perish here in an instant. As his voice fell, the overwhelming pressure of a level 96 titled Duluo swept out violently. Minato Namikaze, whose chakra was already running low, grew increasingly grave. He let out a long sigh and looked at his wife beside him, his tone filled with helplessness. I'm sorry, Kushina, I won't be able to talk with you for much longer. While Tang Xiao was filled with confusion, Minato Namikaze rapidly formed hand seals. Shadow Clone Technique. At this point, you are still struggling in vain. It seems you are determined not to surrender. Tang Xiao's tone was full of disdain. Before he could finish speaking, the clone instantly shifted position and charged straight toward him. Reaper Death Seal. Accompanied by Minato Namikaze's roar, the phantom of the Shinigami appeared abruptly. Unlike in the past, the arm extended by the Shinigami not only locked onto the nine-tailed but also reached through Minato Namikaze's clone, heading straight for Tang Xiao. In an instant, Tang Xiao felt his entire body go limp and weak, and he could not even manifest his spirit. Reaper Death Seal, how is it possible to affect two targets at the same time? Tang Xiao let out a roar of unwillingness, but he no longer had the strength to reverse the situation. Minato Namikaze made no response. He drove the ninjutsu with his mind, and the Shinigami's giant hand steadily and completely stripped Tang Xiao's soul from his body. Tang Xiao's soul was completely sealed, and he lost all signs of life on the spot. The sky canopy immediately popped up a judgment notification, declaring that Tang Xiao had completely perished. Under the gaze of the entire continent, Tang Xiao was resurrected and expelled from the instance. Only the Shinigami remained standing on the spot, its expression revealing a hint of confusion and astonishment. Beneath the sky canopy, the entire continent instantly fell into an uproar. Everyone was bewildered, and discussions rose one after another. Good grief, I was waiting to watch a good show, and this is how it ends. Is this Tang Xiao here to be a joke? What was his purpose for coming? The location and timing Tang Xiao chose were perfectly fine. It was indeed the moment most likely to take down Minato Namikaze, but I didn't expect the fourth Hokage to have this trick up his sleeve. Looking at it this way, that Minato Namikaze is too heaven-defying. With Flying Thunder God, Shadow Clones, and the Reaper Death Seal, if he wanted to take everyone down with him, I wonder how many people he could take out. Does no one think the Shinigami lost out? Using one soul but ending up doing double the work. How is that a loss? The souls are all in its stomach. It's a win either way. So, out of 5 people, only the Spirit Hall side is left, right? Not at all. You guys didn't watch Tang San's perspective, did you? He's still being tortured. It's truly miserable. I saw it too. It seems he was handed over by Uchiha Shisui to a department called Root. He's been interrogated the whole time. It was horrifying to watch. He'd be better off dead. I saw it too. The Naruto continent really has so many interrogation methods. It truly opened my eyes. Speaking of which, this Tang San also seems to have a Clear Sky hammer. He also counts as Clear Sky sect. Both from the Clear Sky sect, and one is more ridiculous than the other. The 2 heroes of the Clear Sky sect. Isn't that right? One ended as soon as he appeared, and the other went into the instance to experience an interrogation package from another continent. These 2 are not even as good as Thunder Duluo. At least he managed to exchange a few moves with the third Hokage. Clear Sky sect. The elders looked at the defeated Tang Xiao on the sky canopy, all of them looking grim. Tang Xiao himself was still filled with lingering fear. The 7th elder's tone was full of dissatisfaction. Sect Master, is this the outcome of the plan you were so confident about? The entire sect had hoped to use this otherworldly instance to restore their prestige. Never did they expect that Tang Xiao and Tang San would fail one after another, instead becoming the laughingstock of the entire continent. It was shameful even to watch. Tang Xiao slowly steadied his emotions, his tone low and regretful. It was my arrogance and carelessness. I didn't expect Minato Namikaze to have this trump card. In a flash, he hurriedly asked about what he was most concerned about. Has anyone in the instance obtained the ninjutsu legacy? How is that old dragon faring? The Grand Elder's expression was cold, and he replied with a hint of anger, Thunder Duluo was eliminated early on. Now, inside the instance, Yuji and Dugubo are the most likely to obtain the ninjutsu. And that bastard Tang-san, HMPH. Don't even get me started. Is there something special about Tang-san? Tang Xiao asked, looking confused. Tang-san has twin spirits, blue silver grass and the clear sky hammer. He is the son of Tang Hao and that woman. Hearing this, Tang Xiao's eyes suddenly lit up, so it's Yin and Brother Hao's child. What is his current situation? The Grand Elder couldn't be bothered to say more and gestured for him to look at the sky canopy. When he saw the tortured Tang-san on the screen, Tang Xiao fell silent instantly. Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. Seeing this, the pent-up frustration in Thunder Duluo's heart was swept away, and he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ha ha ha, at least I'm not the only one who lost face. These two heroes of the Clear Sky Sect are even more pathetic than me. Yu Luomian helplessly twitched the corner of his mouth. Brother, there's no need to compare who is worse. What we need to consider now is that Spirit Hall is about to obtain the ninjutsu. Thunder Duluo waved his hand, seeing things very clearly, there's no helping it. I can't exactly take my old bones to Spirit Hall to steal things. That old Gai Qian Daoliu's sword is not light. Wait for the next instance. Isn't the next one the Pirate Continent? I don't believe Spirit Hall will get all the opportunities again. Chapter 37, Danzo Shimura arrives. Inside Shrek Academy. Everyone stared at Tang-san, who was being tortured during the interrogation on the sky canopy, and the atmosphere was oppressive. Oscar wore an expression of pity and sighed, when will this dungeon finally end? Little San has been tortured for half a day already. Daimubai shook his head and sighed, I don't know. The sky canopy hasn't given any hints at all. He was secretly annoyed. He had originally planned for Tang-san to seize the opportunity to obtain ninjutsu, but now the plan had completely fallen through. It would be good enough if Tang-san could just suffer a little less. What a waste of the meal he had treated him to. Yu Shaogang looked at the disheveled Tang-san on the screen. His usual gloomy demeanor vanished, replaced by a surge of rage that rushed straight to his head. He pointed at the sky canopy and shouted sternly. Despicable, little San is suffering such torment. This so-called sky canopy has no justice whatsoever. Flender was shocked by this and hurriedly stepped forward to cover his mouth, Shaogang. Stop talking. News from Spirit Hall says that the existence behind the sky canopy has power exceeding that of a god. Even with his mouth tightly covered, Yu Shaogang remained indignant, his throat constantly emitting muffled sounds of protest. Suddenly, a blinding bolt of lightning struck down, and a thunderous roar echoed through the courtyard. Cold text appeared in midair, questioning the sky canopy, applying minor punishment. As the lightning dissipated, Yu Shaogang collapsed to the ground, trembling uncontrollably, his flesh still bearing the scorched scent from the lightning strike. Flender, who was standing to the side, had not been implicated, but he felt lingering fear. Quick, hurry and save Shaogang. Flender snapped back to reality and hurriedly spoke. Zhao Wuji looked at the person on the ground, deeply wary. Boss Flender, this is a punishment sent down by the sky canopy. If we touch him rashly, won't we be struck by lightning too? The other teachers echoed his sentiments, unanimously deciding to wait and see for the moment. Since it was only a minor punishment, it shouldn't be life-threatening. If you aren't willing to act, then I will. Ignoring the dissuasion, Flender stepped forward to help him up. However, the moment he touched Yu Shaogang's body, a wave of numbness instantly swept through his entire body. His figure trembled violently, and he fell directly down beside Yu Shaogang. The others saw this and felt secretly relieved. It's a good thing we didn't rush forward just now, we almost suffered the same fate. Old Zhao, thanks to your warning. Ma Hongjun looked at the two people on the ground, filled with confusion as he spoke, speaking of which, why did Grandmaster suddenly get so angry? Little San has been tortured for so long, and I haven't seen him this worked up before. Zhao Wuji's expression carried a hint of mockery, and his tone was sarcastic, he was only concerned about his own detached spirit earlier, right? Where would he have the heart to care about Tang-san? To put it plainly, it was just a pretense. Now it has backfired, inviting punishment from the sky canopy, Li Yusong added calmly. The students were simple-minded and couldn't see through it, but the teacher saw the underlying motives clearly. In the dense forest outside Shrek Academy, Xiao Wu stared blankly at the sky canopy, her thoughts in turmoil. Seeing Tang-san's tortured appearance, worry instinctively welled up in her heart. But as soon as she remembered that Tang Hao intended to give his own spirit ring to Tang-san, this concern was instantly clouded by resentment. She turned to look at Tang Hao beside her and was surprised to find that this father hadn't been paying any attention to his son, who was mired in suffering. Tang Hao's expression was gloomy at this moment. His gaze was locked tightly onto Tang-san, who was being interrogated on the sky canopy, and he cursed in a low voice, trash. His older brother had been sealed and defeated as soon as he appeared. In the entire Clear Sky sect, only Tang-san remained in the dungeon, and in such a disgraceful manner. The face of the Clear Sky sect has been completely lost because of you. Tang Hao was full of resentment. Before entering the dungeon, he had already agreed to meet up with Tang Xiao first. And the result, Tang-san was actually taken down by a child. And he even exposed the Clear Sky hammer. He even felt that it would have been better if Tang-san had just slit his own throat as soon as he arrived in the dungeon. He had originally counted on Tang-san to seize the ninjutsu and use it as an opportunity to return to the sect, but now it seemed impossible. Having lost face for the Clear Sky sect to this extent, it would be good enough not to be hunted down. As these thoughts turned in his mind, Tang Hao's gaze slowly landed on Xiao Wu. His sharp look made her tremble all over, and she subconsciously shrank back. Tang Hao secretly calculated that for now, he could only pin his hopes on this 100,000-year spirit beast. A 100,000-year spirit ring combined with a spirit bone, this value was enough to return to the Clear Sky sect. ... The sky canopy continued to play. Uchiha clan grounds. Yuji took the Uchiha legacy scroll from Fugaku and slowly unrolled it. The first ninjutsu that caught his eye was the Great Fireball technique. Flipping further, even the majestic Destroyer Flame, endorsed by Master Madara, was clearly listed. The scroll contained various fire release and lightning release ninjutsu, as well as the Uchiha sword techniques passed down through generations. There was a wide variety, and the combat power was impressive. As expected of the Uchiha clan, it was practically a miniature scroll of seals. However, Yuji soon discovered something wrong and looked at Fugaku with a half-smile. Clan chief, what about Izanagi and Izanami? Without these two techniques, can this really be considered the Uchiha legacy? Sasuke awakened the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but with a blank Uchiha legacy, he would still get humiliated by Uchiha Itachi. Moreover, these two techniques should be recorded in this scroll. After all, Izanami was only invented after the village was founded, so how could it be recorded on the stone tablet? And since Danzo was able to learn Izanagi, it should be in the scroll too. After all, only a Mangekyo can read that stone tablet. Uchiha Fugaku looked at him in surprise and sighed, I didn't expect you to know even this. Then he took out another scroll and handed it over. It's all here. One last reminder, you cannot use the Mangekyo too much. Your eyesight will decline very quickly. In the future, you won't have any family left, so you won't be able to complete the transition to an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Seemingly having been exposed, Uchiha Fugaku didn't hide it anymore. Yuji nodded to acknowledge this while looking at the two great divine techniques in his hands. With these two techniques in hand, this time could finally be considered perfect. As for going blind, that is indeed a problem. But the gods of Duluo continent should have a solution. The combat power of those gods might fluctuate in the Duluo series, but their other feats are not low at all. They can even resurrect people, what else is there to say? Finally, when I'm about to go blind, I'll just go to Sea God Island to fleece them. Anyway, the sea god is famously rich. If that doesn't work, I'll just wait for Bibi Dong to become a god and continue to hug her silk-stocking legs. Clan chief, although there were some small setbacks, I have already obtained what I wanted. As for Uchiha Itachi, I will spare him for your sake. Yuji was in a great mood and, looking at Fugaku's bitter, deep-seated expression, he spoke. Uchiha Fugaku didn't expect to receive this answer. His eyes widened, and he wished he could eat Yuji alive. If you killed Itachi now, it might actually be a good thing. The other Uchiha would certainly not let Itachi leave so easily. He had wanted Yuji to give him a quick end, but he hadn't expected this result. Yuji certainly knew this result and wanted to continue chatting with Fugaku for a while, but a hurried voice interrupted him. Uchiha Fugaku, Danzo Shimura has come with the dogs from Route. After hearing this, Fugaku's face turned even darker. It wasn't just because Danzo had come, but also because the Uchiha clan was now openly not calling him clan chief anymore. It was laughable to think about it, Yuji was the only one who still called him clan chief. As for Danzo coming, that was very normal. Almost everyone from Route who was monitoring them had been killed by Dugubo, and all the Uchiha elites had gathered at the Uchiha clan grounds. Wasn't it obvious that something was fishy? Chapter 38, Ninetales Incident Continued Part 1 Uchiha-ku. Uchiha Fugaku looked deeply at Yuji and said, you should not go out. I will handle the matters outside. Before the words had even faded, he didn't wait for a response and strode straight outside. Interesting, it seems he doesn't want to live anymore. Yuji whispered to himself as he watched his retreating figure. I didn't expect that Fugaku, who was indecisive in the original work, would have made up his mind now. What do we do now? Wait for the instance to end. Dugubo didn't care about all this, he just wanted to safely take the ninjutsu back. No rush yet. Yuji turned his head and asked, how about the toxins you neutralized for the Uchiha clan members earlier? Dugubo didn't expect this question and instinctively replied, we just got here, didn't you have me neutralize them already? My skills are flawless. Yuji looked outside the courtyard with a meaningful expression, then let's go see what happens. Anyway, the Nine-Tailed has already been transferred, and it won't be long before it's sealed. The Nine-Tails incident had just occurred, and Konoha village was at its weakest. For Danzo to attack the Uchiha clan at this time was nothing short of idiotic. Currently, the Uchiha clan members had absolutely no trust left in the Konoha high-ranking officials, and the situation was on the verge of exploding. If handled improperly, the Nine-Tails incident that had just been quelled could very likely trigger an Uchiha rebellion once again. So, let's take advantage of the chaos and go see the famous, scapegoat shadow. The clear moonlight bathed the earth. Unlike the Konoha village, which was filled with a violent atmosphere earlier, the entire clan grounds were now filled with a murderous aura. Danzo Shimura led a group of root ninja to form a formation, standing in a standoff with the Uchiha clan members from a distance. In the center of everyone's line of sight lay a figure on the verge of death. Danzo's face was cold and grim as he shouted sternly, "Uchiha Fugaku, is your Uchiha clan planning to rebel?" He thought the Uchiha clan chief in front of him would back down like before. Unexpectedly, the other party's attitude today was the exact opposite. "Danzo, you have led people into the Uchiha compound without cause. If you cannot provide a reasonable explanation today, don't think about leaving safely." Boom. A majestic aura erupted from Fugaku's body, and his Mangekyo Sharingan was suddenly revealed. The rest of the clansmen were stunned at the sight, but immediately followed suit, with pairs of scarlet Sharingan appearing one after another. The pressure of their ocular power, at the very least 2 tomo, washed over them. Even the battle-hardened root ninja felt their hearts tighten and instinctively gripped the kunai in their hands. Danzo looked at the unique Mangekyo pattern. His expression darkened first, then gave way to intense greed, but he forcibly suppressed the urge to strike, planning to find a legitimate excuse to take these eyes for himself. "Uchiha Fugaku, didn't you want a reason? I'll give you one." Danzo reached out and pointed at the unconscious person on the ground, his tone sinister. This person was captured by Uchiha Shisui before the nine-tailed incident. After interrogation, it was determined that he is not from our continent, but from the Duluo continent. Digging even deeper, he comes from another world, from a faction called the Tang sect. The Uchiha clansmen were shocked to hear this, instantly thinking of Yuji. They didn't expect that he had actually been exposed. Uchiha Fugaku frowned and said, "What is the use of saying all this?" He also hadn't expected that one of Yuji's companions would be captured, but he would not hand over Yuji. The other party was one of the few future orphans of the Uchiha. What is the use? Danzo Shimura laughed in anger. All the root personnel on the perimeter of the police force were killed. Before they died, they sent back a message that 2 outsiders had infiltrated the clan grounds. I have reason to suspect that the Uchiha clan is secretly colluding with people from other continents. Uchiha Fugaku couldn't help but curse Dugubo for not finishing off the people he killed. Yuji, who was in the shadows, also glanced at Dugubo. I did indeed finish off those few ninja cleanly. Dugubo felt like he had lost face. He hadn't expected those few level 60 ants to have such a trick up their sleeves. Yuji didn't think there was anything wrong with that. After all, those were ninja trained in this stuff from a young age. And they were the root, the most inhumane among ninja. If they didn't pull a few tricks before they died, they wouldn't be living up to their status. It was normal that the old poison master didn't see it coming. However, I didn't expect that the one Danzo Shimura brought would be Tang-san. God King Tang, I never expected the first time I saw him would be when he was in such a sorry state. And the whole continent saw it. I'm afraid the whole continent will now have a way of seeking death. And listening to Danzo Shimura, he must have sent the Yamanaka clan to search Tang-san's brain. They even dug out the Tang sect. They dug deep enough. Thinking of this, Yuji's eyes lit up. Then they must have obtained the mysterious heaven skill too. This is the cultivation technique that even the God King uses. Old poison, we might have to intervene. Yuji looked at Danzo Shimura, knowing that this guy must have the mysterious heaven skill in his hands. Why? Because of that Tang-san. Even if he exposed the Duluo continent, so what? Anyway, the sky canopy said this instance was extracted from time, so it won't pose a threat to our continent. Dugubo also recognized Tang-san. After all, of the 5 people who came here, except for Tang-san, he either knew them or had heard of them. Besides, he didn't really want to intervene in this matter. What if something went wrong with the ninjutsu? Listen to me, you won't regret it. Old poison, that guy named Danzo Shimura also has good things on him. Yuji stared intently at Danzo's figure, searching for the location where the secret manual was stored. Dugubo thought for a moment and chose to trust Yuji. After all, his information had never been wrong. Is it still the same as before? Slower this time, be more cautious. Yuji pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice. Turning back to Uchiha Fugaku, the standoff was still ongoing. Those 2 used poison to knock out our entire Uchiha clan. They also extorted our legacy. Uchiha Fugaku stared intently at Danzo, saying every word clearly. If Elder Shimura does not believe it, you can order their capture. Fugaku, do you take me for a fool? Danzo Shimura said coldly, either hand over those 2, or let us search the Uchiha compound. This demand completely ignited the anger of the Uchiha, and a clansman who had activated the 3 Tomo Sharingan stepped forward. Clan Chief, I still call you Clan Chief tonight. If you let him search the clan grounds, we would rather the whole clan defect. You know why? Yes, Clan Chief, the Nine Tails incident has already occurred. If we still don't change, the destruction of our clan is only a matter of time. Why not stage a coup right now? Anyway, after the Nine Tails incident, Konoha is at its weakest, and we Uchiha haven't suffered any damage at all. The clansmen echoed this sentiment one after another, aiming all their burning rage at Danzo. Danzo Shimura thought to himself, not good, it seems the Uchiha are really about to make a move. He swore that this time, he really just wanted to find those 2 people from other continents. He had already obtained quite a few good things from Tang-san, and there was even a cultivation technique that could improve one's innate talent. If this weak one has such good things, wouldn't the two stronger ones have even more good things? As for threatening Uchiha Fugaku, well, he was already here, wasn't he? If he really forced the Uchiha clan to rebel at this critical juncture, Hiruzen would tear him to shreds. The Mangekyo pattern in Uchiha Fugaku's pupils spun incessantly, and his aura became increasingly frigid. Danzo Shimura, you won't be leaving tonight. Chapter 39, Susanoo manifests. Fugaku, don't be rash. Don't go down the path of total clan rebellion. Danzo Shimura's tone softened for the first time. The truth was, Konoha village simply could not afford an Uchiha rebellion right now. An Uchiha clan with its strength fully intact, combined with a pair of Mangekyo, against a Konoha village severely crippled by the Nine Tails incident. Even if Konoha won, it might just restart the Third Great Ninja War. Hidden in the shadows, Yuji watched this scene with amusement. Danzo had really played himself. Danzo Shimura, this is the first time you've been so subservient in front of me. Fugaku felt incomparably exhilarated. As his voice fell, the chakra and ocular power within his body surged wildly. Susanoo. A low shout resounded through the night sky. A towering, massive black skeletal body condensed out of thin air. The grim skeleton stood on the spot, and a powerful sense of oppression instantly swept across the entire clan grounds. The entire scene fell into dead silence. Everyone was dumbfounded, completely stunned by this overwhelming power. The sky canopy popped up with a detailed annotation of Susanoo, leaving the people of the Duluo world stunned. A divine rank ninjutsu exclusive to the Uchiha Mangekyo Sharingan. It combines chakra and ocular power to manifest a giant martial god for defense and combat. Possesses both offense and defense. It can awaken an exclusive divine artifact, cause large-scale destruction, and at its peak, can cleave mountains and shake tailed beasts. Voices of discussion rose and fell, filled with shock and uproar. Susanoo, the Uchiha actually had such terrifying power. Hiss, does the Sharingan have no limits? What kind of invincible spirit is this? Hey, it has both offense and defense, and can even awaken a divine artifact. How are others supposed to live? As expected of the Uchiha clan chief. This is just too strong. Wait, no, if this Uchiha Fugaku has this kind of strength, why the hell is he being such a coward? Is this Uchiha Fugaku sick in the head? With this kind of strength, he just watched the Uchiha clan get wiped out. I'm a bit curious about the first Hokage who founded Konoha. How did he suppress such a clan and become Hokage? Heaven-Do Empire, Heaven-Do City. Emperor Shuiyi stood up, gazing at the Susanoo in the sky canopy, then sighed. It seems the secrets hidden in the Naruto continent are far more numerous than we imagined. Qian Runshui looked solemn, her brows furrowed in thought. The Nine Tails incident is already drawing to a close, yet I didn't expect such a turn of events. I deduce that there must be hidden reasons behind the destruction of the Uchiha clan. Emperor Shuiyi nodded slightly, his tone filled with emotion. I originally thought the Uchiha clan must have been incredibly weak to be wiped out by one person, but now it seems completely different. The younger generation has a genius like Uchiha Shisui. The upper echelons have a powerhouse like Uchiha Fugaku. And there are so many clan members with 3 Tomo Sharingan in between. The clan is in its prime. How could it possibly be wiped out by one person? Indeed, Your Majesty, all of Konoha village's powerhouses are just the 3rd Hokage and the 4th Hokage. The Uchiha are so powerful, with experts as numerous as clouds within the clan. I don't know why they live such stifled lives. Marshal Zheilong was very confused. In the Heaven-Do Empire, if your family had this kind of strength, the emperor would have to treat you with courtesy. Marshal, that is incorrect. Qian Runshui's gaze swept over the court officials, and she slowly expressed her opinion. Konoha village must possess overwhelming strength to keep the Uchiha clan so stifled, and the clan chief so indecisive. The Uchiha elites in the sky canopy are all arrogant and proud people. Konoha village must be even more extraordinary. The crown prince is wise. Emperor Shuiyi praised, then scanned the crowd. Konoha village has such heritage, yet they don't know how to cherish it. Sitting idly by as the Uchiha clan and the villagers become estranged, it is no different from cutting off one's own arm. I think that title of first in the ninja world will not last. But our Heaven-Do Empire, with ruler and subjects united, treats all powerful forces with kindness. We will sooner or later reach the peak of the Duluo world. Qian Runshui watched all this with amusement. She knew that Emperor Shuiyi couldn't sit still anymore. Dugubo had defected to Spirit Hall, and Yuji was promoting it crazily on the sky canopy. Coupled with the tragic scenes of the Uchiha annihilation shown on the sky canopy, it was bound to cause unrest across the continent. If this old fox didn't speak up to pacify the people, he wouldn't be fit to be emperor. She took the opportunity to bow and echo, Father Emperor is farsighted, the Heaven-Do Empire will surely prosper and endure. The civil and military officials echoed in unison, and the hall was filled with shouts. ... Inside the Spirit Hall Elder Hall, several elders stared intently at the sky canopy, their expressions fluctuating. Light Feather Duluo's brows were tightly knitted. He turned to look at Qian Dalyu, who was sitting in the seat of honor. Big brother, can you still gauge the depth of Uchiha Fugaku's strength? The other elders immediately looked over as well. At first, everyone could clearly judge that Uchiha Fugaku's strength corresponded to roughly the level of a 92nd level titled Duluo, but ever since he activated Susanoo, his power had become ethereal and unfathomable and they could no longer accurately probe it. Qian Daoliu's eyes moved slightly. Using his angel god divine force to sense it carefully for a moment, he slowly said, after activating Susanoo, his ocular power and chakra merge into a special power. Now, it roughly equates to level 97. This power was vastly different from spirit power. Even Gold Crocodile Duluo, at level 98, could not fathom it, only divine force could catch a glimpse of the truth. A jump of 5 levels all at once. Demon subduing Duluo looked shocked, unable to help but swallow his saliva. Can the titled level really skyrocket like this? Are you sure this Sharingan isn't a divine rank spirit? It's very likely. In the end, we still underestimated the upper limit of the Sharingan. Light Feather Duluo narrowed his eyes, watching the lingering image on the sky canopy, his tone full of amazement. Not only can it constantly evolve, but it can also upgrade to Mangekyo to awaken Susanoo. This move provides too much of a boost at the same level. He frowned slightly, his heart full of confusion and curiosity. I am now truly getting more and more curious. Just how strong was that first Hokage back then to be able to forcibly suppress the Uchiha clan and establish Konoha? Demon subduing Duluo sighed. That might be another legend. You have to know that the first Hokage's enemy, Uchiha Madara, could terrify Minato Namikaze just by his name. That shows his terrifying strength. What I'm curious about now is how Danzo is going to block that. Thousand Jun Duluo looked disdainful and said with a chuckle. He hadn't liked Danzo Shimura from the moment he appeared. He was too sinister. Gold Crocodile Duluo crossed his arms, his gaze deep, and this Uchiha Fugaku is fighting for his life. That kid Yuji has pushed him to the edge. Given the situation of the Uchiha clan, he might as well die in battle. That way, his wife and younger son might be treated kindly. He didn't mention Uchiha Itachi, but all the elders knew that Itachi definitely wouldn't survive. Perhaps Uchiha Fugaku even wanted to use his own death to trade for a quick death for Itachi. Lion Duluo shook his head gently, his tone filled with a touch of regret. He is a very incompetent clan chief. All the elders nodded in agreement. Yuji had said it on the sky canopy. He was too indecisive and only made up his mind at the very end. Strictly speaking, he was also an incompetent father, raising his own son to be the perpetrator of the clan's annihilation. They had truly seen it all. Chapter 40, Uchiha Fugaku vs Danzo Shimura. The sky canopy continued to play, and the battle was on the verge of breaking out. The blood of the Uchiha clansmen surged, and they shouted in unison. Clan chief, this is the aura you should have. Let them witness the true power of the Uchiha. For the glory of the Uchiha. Having witnessed the terrifying might of the Susanoo, the clansmen's eyes were filled with fanatical battle intent. Danzo's heart sank, knowing the formidable power of the Mangekyo, and he sternly ordered, Root Ninja, kill Uchiha Fugaku immediately. As soon as the words fell, Uchiha Fugaku had already locked onto his target and sternly divided the battlefield. Leave Danzo to me, and deal with the rest of the root. At this moment, there was no hesitation left in his heart. His only thought was to kill Danzo. The clansmen beside him laughed loudly, their battle intent soaring. Wonderful. This is the first time I felt that the clan chief is competent. The pitch-black Susanoo skeleton stood in the night sky, its eerie bone claws carrying the might to crush everything, crashing down towards Danzo Shimura. The air trembled violently, and the fierce wind tore at the ground, sending gravel flying. Danzo's expression changed drastically. Not daring to take it head-on, he retreated violently, his chakra erupting under his feet, and he narrowly dodged this fatal claw. Boom! The bone claw slammed into the ground, instantly causing the hard bluestone slabs to crack into dense spiderweb fractures. The terrifying power left the remaining root ninja shaken to their core. Seeing this, several root elites abandoned their opponents and rushed forward at full speed, attempting to cover Danzo and restrain Uchiha Fugaku. But as soon as they moved, several Scarlet Sharingan instantly locked onto them. The Uchiha elites all launched their attacks, each one of them being a top combatant within the clan, proficient in fire release, lightning release, and the Uchiha's unique swordsmanship, coordinated and balanced in both offense and defense. One Uchiha clansman used body flicker to close in, Scarlet 3 Tomo swirling, the cold light of the ninja blade in his hand flickering as he neatly slashed out, tightly entangling the root ninja in front. Another performed hand seals with one hand, flames surging, and great fire annihilation erupted, the sea of fire sealing the enemy's movement and burning the root ninja until they retreated repeatedly. Still others used lightning release, electricity wrapping around their blades, slashing out with swift lightning blades, their speed and explosive power crushing those of the same level. Faced with the uniform Uchiha elites, the long-trained root ninja were forced to retreat step by step, unable to break through to provide support. In just a few seconds, all the root ninja who wanted to reinforce Danzo were tightly entangled and firmly restrained by the Uchiha clansmen, completely losing the opportunity to intervene in the main battlefield. The situation on the entire battlefield shifted completely. Blade light, flames, and thunder intertwined. Every attack was tricky and fierce, pressing the root members into misery, and casualties continued to rise. Damn it! Danzo, who had just managed to dodge the Susanoo's attack, glanced at the root forces collapsing across the board. His expression was extremely gloomy, and he cursed through gritted teeth. He had run rampant in Konoha for many years, and it had always been him suppressing others. He never imagined that one day, he would be forced into such a state by the Uchiha Fugaku, who had always been known for forbearance and concession. In front, Uchiha Fugaku's eyes were cold, the Mangekyo patterns rotating rapidly. The pitch-black Susanoo skeleton gathered strength again, its huge right claw rising once more, and with the terrifying force to crush mountains and rivers, it grabbed fiercely at the isolated Danzo for a second time. At the critical moment, Danzo remained calm, and a layer of dense wind-release chakra suddenly wrapped around his body. Wind attribute chakra attached to all his limbs, maximizing his speed and movement, making his figure suddenly become light and swift. With the boost from the wind release speed, Danzo shifted his body strangely several times in a row, narrowly avoiding several fatal captures just before the Susanoo bone claw hit the ground. The deafening roars continued to explode, the ground was clawed into trenches several meters deep by the bone claws, and gravel and dirt splashed into the sky, the destructive power being extremely terrifying. Having dodged the fierce attacks, Danzo did not just flee, he immediately launched a counterattack. He quickly performed hand seals with one hand, and chakra gushed out. Wind release, vacuum serial waves. Several condensed, sharp, high-pressure wind blades sped through the air, tearing through the night sky, and precisely slashed onto the black skeleton of the Susanoo. But no matter how fierce the wind blade attack was, it could not shake the defense of the Mangekyo Susanoo at all, not even leaving a shallow mark. With the first attack failing, Danzo's expression did not change. He immediately switched tactics, continuing to move and kite using the super high speed granted by the wind release chakra, not engaging the Susanoo head-on. Wind release, vacuum bullets. Extremely compressed wind release bullets were fired one after another, bombing various parts of the Susanoo skeleton, attempting to find a flaw in its defense. Immediately following this was another burst of ninjutsu, wind release, great breakthrough. A violent gale swept across the field, sending gravel flying, and the powerful wind pressure impacted the Susanoo head-on, but it was still in vain. Vacuum serial waves, vacuum bullets, and great breakthrough alternated. Danzo kept moving and restraining throughout, his wind release ninjutsu continuous, yet he could never break through Fugaku's defensive barrier, nor could he force his opponent to take a single step back. Several rounds of ineffective suppression completely exhausted Fugaku's patience. Since conventional offense and defense could not finish off the opponent, he would use a large-scale finishing move to completely seal the battle. Fugaku controlled the Susanoo to raise its hand and gather strength. Immense ocular power and chakra instantly converged in its palm, and several pitch-black, condensed black tomo formed out of thin air, surrounded by extremely violent explosive chakra. His eyes were cold, and the Susanoo's arm swung violently. Several black tomo shot out instantly, not tracking a single target, but spreading out in all directions, completely covering all areas around Danzo, sealing off all space for movement, dodging, and escape. Rumble. Violent chain explosions suddenly rang out across the world, and the wild chakra shockwave swept across the entire Uchiha compound. The ground cracked and collapsed over a large area, and the towering dust instantly obscured the entire night sky, giving Danzo no room to maneuver at all. When the dust slowly dissipated, the scene in the arena became completely clear. Danzo Shimura stood there in a sorry state, half of his clothes completely torn, his body covered in scars of varying depths, flesh turned outward in many places, his breath chaotic and weak. He had already been severely injured by this move. Danzo knew clearly in his heart that if this kiting and attrition continued, he would only be exhausted to death, and there was no chance of winning at all. The delay tactic was useless, only by risking his life would he have a chance to turn the tables. Danzo Shimura gritted his teeth and shouted, condensing all his wind-release chakra onto his kunai, the biting wind blade aura wrapping around the entire ninja tool, its sharpness intimidating. He exerted force with his legs, his figure suddenly surging and leaping up, and with the extreme speed boosted by wind release, holding the wind release enhanced kunai, he faced the massive Susanoo and stabbed fiercely. Facing this desperate attack, Uchiha Fugaku did not dodge or avoid it at all, letting the kunai attached with full power wind release stab toward his Susanoo skeleton. Clang! A harsh, crisp metallic sound suddenly exploded. The moment the kunai struck the skeleton with full force, it couldn't shake the Susanoo in the slightest. The high-intensity ocular power bones directly and forcibly snapped the entire kunai. Looking at the broken kunai in his hand and the pitch-black skeleton right in front of him, Danzo's pupils shrank. Fugaku looked down from above, his gaze cold and indifferent, his voice carrying extreme mockery. Danzo, is this all you have left now? The moment the words fell, the Susanoo's huge bone claw suddenly closed, precisely and firmly gripping Danzo, who had no time to dodge. There was no room for any struggle, and with a dull explosion, Danzo's body was directly crushed by the massive force. Chapter 41. Izanagi appears. A perilous standoff had finally come to an end. Uchiha Fugaku's tense form relaxed slightly, he panted heavily, and the massive fluctuations of chakra slowly subsided. After all, his eyes were not yet the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and maintaining Susanoo consumed a great deal of his ocular power and physical stamina. As the battle ended, the Mangekyo patterns in his eyes gradually faded, returning to the appearance of ordinary Sharingan, and the massive black skeleton dissipated into nothingness. But in that fleeting moment of relaxation, splutch! A cold, sharp pain suddenly pierced through from his back to his chest. Uchiha Fugaku's body stiffened violently, his pupils contracted sharply, and his face was filled with disbelief. There was no one in front of him, yet behind him, Danzo Shimura, who should have been crushed into nothingness by Susanoo, stood there completely unscathed. Danzo gripped the blood-stained kunai, piercing it deep into Uchiha Fugaku's back. A cold and cruel smile spread across his face, his breathing remained steady, and there was not a trace of any serious injury. Izanami, Uchiha Fugaku felt a metallic taste in his throat and let out a difficult, low roar. Danzo slowly pulled out the kunai, his cold voice carrying a bone-chilling intent that echoed through the night sky. Uchiha Fugaku, did you really think I had no precautions against your Uchiha clan? Danzo slowly uncovered the bandage on his right eye, revealing an eye that was gray and permanently blind. He had activated Izanami before stabbing Susanoo with the kunai, waiting until the fatal moment when Uchiha Fugaku dispelled Susanoo and completely let his guard down, before quietly appearing to launch this lethal sneak attack. Did you think you were invincible just by relying on a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan? Danzo wiped the blood off the kunai, his eyes sinister and fierce. In this battle, you were the one who lost from the very beginning. The complete annotation of Izanagi appeared on the sky canopy, the lines of text clearly reflecting in everyone's eyes, and discussions erupted instantly across the continent. Izanagi, the ultimate forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan, the supreme art of rewriting reality and reversing life and death. After activation, it can turn all disadvantages, such as damage received or death, into a dream, retaining only the favorable reality. Cost: the Sharingan used becomes permanently blind. Danzo was just running away in a sorry state, and he turned the tables with this move. Danzo is no simple figure either. Wind-style ninjutsu is like child's play in his hands, and his speed is just too fast. What's the use? That wind couldn't even break through the defense of Susanoo. It's truly domineering. This Susanoo is just too domineering. I thought Danzo was stupid for stabbing Susanoo with a kunai. I didn't expect that I was the stupid one. He had an ace up his sleeve from beginning to end. It's just that the Uchiha clan is powerful. Izanami is also a ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan. Could it be that only the Uchiha clan can defeat the Uchiha clan? By the way, is the Uchiha clan really not a god race? Are these skills that humans can use? Changing reality and dreams, is this really something a human can do? Isn't it? How did the Uchiha clan create this? I can't even imagine such a move. Wait, hasn't Yuji already obtained Izanami? Right, Uchiha Fugaku already gave it to him just now, and he was even reluctant. I thought he was stingy. Now I see it was just my own ignorance. And there's Izanagi, which can be mentioned alongside Izanami, so it must not be simple either. Spirit Hall has truly obtained a massive opportunity this time. 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Ning Rongrong widened her eyes, staring at the resurrected Danzo on the sky canopy, her face filled with disbelief. She turned to look at Ning Fengji beside her. Dad, if one learns that Izanami, doesn't that mean they can be resurrected twice? Ning Fengji gently set down his teacup, rubbed his brow with his fingertips, and said with a solemn expression, I'm afraid it's even more than that. He realized now that no matter how much importance they placed on the Uchiha clan, it wouldn't be an exaggeration. Ning Rongrong looked confused and tilted her head to ask, why? Bone Duluo let out a long sigh and slowly explained, Rongrong, that Danzo Shimura in the sky canopy is clearly not using his own eyes. This proves that the most important thing for Izanami is not the Uchiha bloodline, but the Sharingan. Sword Duluo took over the conversation and pointed out the key point. In other words, as long as one can stockpile enough Sharingan, theoretically, one could repeatedly use Izanami to constantly rewrite life and death. This ocular technique is just too bizarre and powerful. It's fortunate that our Duluo continent doesn't have this kind of spirit. Ning Rongrong exclaimed subconsciously. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw the hesitant expressions of her 2 grandfathers and immediately thought of Yuji. Wait. Yuji is the only person on the continent who possesses the Sharingan now, isn't he in a perilous situation? It's more than just perilous. Ning Fengji's tone sank. Not only does he possess the Sharingan, but he has also mastered the cultivation method for Izanami. Now, all the powerhouses on the continent will target him, coveting this power. Even within the Spirit Hall, not everyone may be content. I finally understand why Konoha village would fear the Uchiha clan. Sword Duluo said with a serious expression. In terms of potential alone, the Sharingan even surpasses the angel martial soul. The angel lineage only has 1 god's messenger per generation, but every member of the Uchiha clan has the potential to evolve a Mangekyo. The situation is completely chaotic. Ning Fengji frowned, his heart filled with worry. Bibi Dong is deep and has great ambition. Now that Yuji holds such a treasure, I really cannot be certain that she will always treat this disciple well. Ning Rongrong covered her mouth, shocked and panicked. The Supreme Pontiff, would she really harm her own personal disciple? In the face of the temptation of ultimate power, the bond between master and disciple counts for nothing. Even the closest of kin can turn against each other. Bone Duluo's tone was cold as he stated the cruel reality. If Yuji heard this, he would only find it amusing. Bone Duluo simply did not know the power of the Romance continent. Spirit Hall, Pope's Palace. Bibi Dong stared at the sky canopy, her expression exceptionally solemn, and immediately ordered in a deep voice, When Xiaoji returns, you must immediately strengthen his guards and ensure they are with him 24 hours a day, never leaving his side. She saw things clearly. Now, many titled Duluo on the continent would covet the Sharingan and the two great forbidden techniques. Yuji was already at the center of the storm. Your Majesty, the Supreme Pontiff is wise. The saint has secured an opportunity for the Spirit Hall, and now that he is in danger, we must absolutely not let a hero suffer any grievances. Chrysanthemum Duluo quickly stepped forward to agree, his attitude becoming exceptionally enthusiastic when mentioning Yuji. Bibi Dong looked at him with satisfaction. Ever since Yuji gave Chrysanthemum Duluo the extraordinary velvet chrysanthemum Duluo had been so enthusiastic about Yuji. If it weren't for her special relationship with Yuji, she would have suspected that Chrysanthemum Duluo was going to betray her. Juliana, standing to the side, also understood Yuji's situation, but she still had questions and couldn't help but ask, I am a bit puzzled. Yuji could have left as soon as he got the ninjutsu, why did he have to get involved in the dispute between the Uchiha clan and Danzo? Chapter 42 Yuji, Danzo, are you match fixing? The saint has his eyes on what Danzo Shimura obtained from Tang-san. Ghost Duluo said indifferently. Juliana followed up, is it the Clear Sky sect's legacy? Not exactly. Bibi Dong shook her head and spoke slowly, it is a legacy from an otherworldly faction called the Tang sect. Xiaoji has a sharp eye and understands that this foundation from another world has a measurable value. But it's still too dangerous. Too reckless. Once he returns, we can just capture Tang-san immediately and force the legacy out of him, can't we? Bibi Dong was somewhat angry. After all, Tang-san had used his own actions to let everyone know that the dungeon was not without danger. If caught, one would wish for death but be unable to die. The others in the hall nodded as well. But if Yuji knew this, he would only laugh. With Spirit Hall's current level of wanted efforts, who knows how long it would take to find Tang-san. And if he returned to the Duluo continent and Tang-san's protagonist halo activated, what if something else went wrong? ... Clear Sky Sect. At this moment, all the elders and core disciples looked up at the sky canopy, the atmosphere tense. Only Tang Xiao looked up at the newly appeared annotation for Izanami on the sky canopy and suddenly burst into hearty laughter, completely sweeping away the stifled frustration of being eliminated from the sky canopy dungeon earlier. The seventh elder on the side frowned and asked in confusion, Sect Master, why are you so happy? While this Izanami is indeed heaven-defying, it is ultimately an otherworldly ninjutsu and has nothing to do with our Clear Sky sect. He even suspected that Tang Xiao's brain was broken. If it weren't for your flashy moves, we wouldn't have been eliminated so quickly, otherwise, the Clear Sky sect could have gotten their hands on this heaven-defying divine art. And you still have the nerve to laugh. The other elders also looked over, their faces full of confusion. In the whole hall, only the Grand Elder stood silently with deep eyes, as if he had already seen through the clues. Tang Xiao swept his gaze over everyone and sighed inwardly. Fortunately, the sect was not entirely composed of simple-minded brutes, at least there was someone who could see through the situation. He restrained his smile, and a cold calculation surfaced in his eyes. I am not laughing because the forbidden technique is powerful, I am laughing because Spirit Hall is about to fall into internal chaos. As his words fell, all the elders were stunned, their faces full of astonishment. Without waiting for everyone to ask, Tang Xiao continued to analyze in a deep voice. Yuji holds the full set of Uchiha Ninjutsu and has obtained the cultivation method for Izanami, appearing to have earned a fortune. But don't forget, who in the entire continent doesn't covet the Sharingan and life and death forbidden techniques? This is not an opportunity at all, it is a death warrant. The seventh elder hesitated, but he is the Spirit Hall saint, protected by Bibi Dong. Who would dare touch him? Protection. Tang Xiao sneered, his coldness chilling to the bone. Do you really think Bibi Dong would truly protect him? With such heaven-defying power, Bibi Dong is probably the first person who wants to snatch it. She knows better than anyone that raising a tiger only leads to trouble. Everyone was shocked upon hearing this, and they instantly understood. Just then, the silent Grand Elder on the side spoke slowly, his voice dry and heavy. Sect Master is so happy, I fear there is a second reason, related to Tang-san, right? That's right, Tang-san possesses an otherworldly legacy. As long as we can persuade Tang-san to acknowledge his ancestors and return to the Clear Sky sect, this otherworldly foundation will be in the Clear Sky sect's pocket. Tang Xiao stated his ultimate goal. As soon as these words were spoken, all the elders' expressions became serious and they frowned tightly. Everyone heard the subtext. If Tang-san returned to the sect, then Tang Hao, who had committed a great mistake back then, would inevitably return to the sect as well. The elders were extremely resistant, unwilling from the bottom of their hearts to accept this pair of father and son who had brought shame and burden to the Clear Sky sect. But this otherworldly legacy was truly tempting, and their inner resistance was instantly suppressed by the huge benefits. The seventh elder hesitated repeatedly before finally asking, Sect Master, that may be true, but Tang-san's temperament is unknown. Is he really willing to hand everything over to the sect? Tang Xiao was full of certainty, his tone incredibly confident, absolutely. Little San was raised by Brother Hao since childhood. he must be kind-hearted, value relationships and righteousness, and have a strong sense of belonging to the clan. As long as our Clear Sky sect opens its doors, he will surely return loyally and offer up the legacy. Seeing the sect master so adamant and confident, the elders exchanged glances, temporarily suppressing their doubts, and nodded silently. The sky canopy footage continued, and Yuji, hiding in the shadows, could not hide his excitement upon seeing Danzo Shimura appear again. Finally forced out this old thing's Izanagi. Old poisonous one, it's our turn next. Dugubo watched, dumbfounded. He had clearly seen Danzo die just a moment ago, yet now the other party had been resurrected out of thin air. It was truly too bizarre. Is this the ninjutsu you've been wanting to obtain? It can even reverse death. We'll talk in detail later, now it's your turn to appear. Just as Danzo stepped forward, intending to take the opportunity to land a finishing blow and kill Fugaku, a brute force suddenly struck him, slamming solidly into his body. Danzo was sent flying through the air in an instant. Who is it? Could it be Orochimaru? Fugaku, clutching his wound, immediately stopped, cast Izanami, and stared intently at the field. A massive beast over 30 meters long came into view, its form snake-like yet not entirely a snake, its aura fierce and oppressive. It is this old man. The one who appeared was none other than Dugubo, who had unleashed his spirit avatar and transformed into the Jade Phosphor Serpent King. Danzo landed in a sorry state, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes full of fierce light, and demanded sharply, "It's not Orochimaru, it's a faction from another continent. Uchiha Fugaku, it seems you have definitely colluded with another continent. What else do you have to say for yourself?" Fugaku did not want to argue. Now, his hatred for Danzo was bone deep. One Sharingan, and Izanami, were already enough to explain everything. Seeing that Fugaku no longer argued, Danzo Shimura turned to the mountain-like Jade Phosphor Serpent King, a cold smile curling on his lips. "So it's a giant snake-type spirit? Since that's the case, I'll use a giant beast of the same level to meet you." He quickly formed hand seals with one hand and shouted in a low voice, summoning jutsu. Accompanied by a surge of white mist, the strangely shaped Baku descended with a boom. With an elephant's trunk, rhinoceros eyes, tiger claws, and an ox's tail, its dark orange body was burly and majestic. Its head was wrapped in layers of bandages, and a thick armor protruded from the base of its nose. Its overall size was in no way inferior to Uchiha Fugaku's Susanoo from just moments ago. The moment the Baku landed, it opened its giant mouth wide. A violent suction force swept across the area, pulling all the surrounding rubble and broken wood into its mouth, targeting the Jade Phosphor Serpent King transformed from Dugubo, intending to forcibly drag its opponent over. Dugubo snorted inwardly, thinking the opponent was an idiot. A black spirit ring suddenly lit up, and his ninth spirit ability erupted without reservation. Jade Phosphor World Annihilation. A torrent of dark green and black deadly poison spewed out like a tsunami, covering the sky and earth as it enveloped the Baku. This kind of poison mist would normally be enough to spread across half a village, but at this moment, it was all drawn away by the Baku's suction and swallowed into its belly in one go. In just a moment, the Baku, which had been aggressive just a moment ago, had its limbs twitch, its massive body collapsed with a boom, and the poison spread within its body, killing it on the spot. Yuji, hiding in the shadows, watched in astonishment. "Are you kidding me, buddy? If others saw this, they'd think we were match-fixing. I don't recall paying for this." Chapter 43, Dugubo, killing Danzo, and you are still dawdling. Danzo was completely stunned. He never expected the opponent's poison to be this tyrannical. Just standing beside the Baku and inhaling a little air mixed with toxic gas made his head dizzy and his throat taste of blood. Damn it, the rude intelligence clearly stated his physical body was formidable, how could he have such potent poison? Danzo was shocked and furious. Enduring the toxic intent churning in his body and his old wounds, he channeled wind attribute chakra to envelop his entire body, hoping to increase his speed and escape. But having just used Izanagi, starting from before the kunai pierced the Susanoo, he had only rewritten the outcome of being crushed by the Susanoo. His old wounds from fighting Fugaku were completely unhealed, and now, having inhaled the toxic mist, it was like adding frost to snow, he could not display his usual speed at all. Yuji also realized what was happening. This was an information gap. Ever since Dugubo consumed the immortal herb, his Jade Phosphor Serpent spirit had completely transformed into the Jade Phosphor Serpent King. When facing experts of the same level, he still relied primarily on poison techniques, but if the opponent's cultivation was weaker than his, he preferred to crush them head-on with his physical body. Consequently, those rude members, before they died, only felt his formidable physique, and the intelligence transmitted back was roughly that, and Danzo, having received a solid blow from him, definitely believed it too. And so, the tragedy occurred. Yuji had thought it would take some effort to take down Danzo. After all, the wind element actually counters the old poison master's poison slightly, but he did not expect this old brat Danzo to court death himself. So the battle was decided, unless Danzo still had another Sharingan. Danzo forcibly suppressed the excruciating pain in his body and looked around, his heart sinking to the bottom. The elite root members he brought had long since been slaughtered by the Uchiha elites, leaving corpses everywhere. There was no one left to assist him. Blocked by powerful enemies in front and with no reinforcements behind, suffering from severe injuries and having ingested potent poison, he was completely trapped in a desperate situation. Danzo suddenly turned his head, staring fixedly at Dugubo, who had already returned to human form. The opponent stood with his hands behind his back, a playful, cat-and-mouse smirk on his lips, his eyes full of mockery. "You want to capture me alive?" Danzo's eyes were splitting with rage, his inner malice surging. He was completely pushed to the brink of madness. He was unwilling to accept defeat, and even less willing to become a prisoner. He suddenly raised his hand to tear open his clothes, a resolute intent to die igniting in the depths of his eyes, and a sense of tragic heroism surged in his heart. "Hiruzen, it seems I must take my leave first. This time, the one protecting Konoha is me." Holding the resolve to perish together, he intended to trigger the four-symbol seal to take his opponent down with him, but just at the moment he was about to exert force, his whole body suddenly froze in place. The motion of lifting his clothes froze in midair. His meridians, flesh, and chakra were all stagnant, unable to move a single inch. What is happening? Danzo's pupils constricted, filled with disbelief. Dugubo stepped forward slowly, his smile cold and playful, petrifying gaze. "You were so full of bravado just now, you didn't even notice." He paused, then said clearly, word by word, "Also, that little freak had already predicted that you would definitely be a cornered beast fighting back at the end and call for the four-symbol seal, right?" Danzo's body was stiff, unable to even open his mouth to speak, only his eyes filled with monstrous hatred and unwillingness, glaring fixedly at Dugubo. "To be safe, I will add one more insurance policy." Dugubo's expression was indifferent as he stepped forward, acting decisively and mercilessly. Crack, crack. Several crisp sounds of bones breaking rang out in succession. He used his bare hands to forcefully snap Danzo's limbs, then condensed the ultimate jade phosphor poison and injected it all into Danzo's body. The potent poison instantly eroded his internal organs, but it was precisely controlled by Dugubo. It did not take his life, leaving him with just one breath. The battle quickly subsided completely, and the root was wiped out cleanly. Yuji squatted down and began searching Danzo's body, pulling out several storage scrolls one after another. He unfolded them one by one. Most contained intelligence and schemes targeting the Uchiha clan. Yuji's expression was calm, but the Uchiha clansmen nearby were seething with rage. When he reached the last scroll, it explicitly recorded information related to N.A.N, the mysterious heaven skill, and the Tang sect treasures were all there, and there was even the disorder-splitting windhammer method. God King Tang's secrets had been stripped completely bare. "Clan chief, don't say I don't look out for you. This cultivation technique is good stuff. You should memorize it." Yuji tossed the scroll toward the melancholic-looking Uchiha Fugaku. This guy, after hardening up, started being indecisive again. Fugaku caught the scroll, initially only glancing at it casually. The Uchiha had always been proud and never coveted others' possessions, but when he read that the cultivation technique could improve innate talent, he was stunned on the spot. He immediately activated his Sharingan, rapidly carving the content into his memory, and asked in shock, "Is this a cultivation technique from your continent? How can the effect be so heaven-defying?" It was truly too terrifying. In the Hokage world, talent was determined from birth, and bloodline almost locked everyone's upper limit. Ordinary civilians didn't even have chakra. Of course, the Duluo continent was the same. The pot calling the kettle black. "Of course not," Yuji said meaningfully. "This Tang-san possessed someone from our continent from another world. This is good stuff from another world." Anyway, Danzo had already said a bit just now, and it was only a matter of time before the Duluo continent discovered it, so he might as well harvest a wave of traffic for himself, Brother G. Furthermore, he felt this dungeon was very strange, as if it had created a world exactly according to his own writing. Giving Fugaku the mysterious heaven skill was also a test. Besides, the mysterious heaven skill is a Taoist cultivation technique, upright and balanced, which could not be more suitable for the crazy Uchiha. As his voice fell, everyone present was shaken, even Dugubo looked surprised. "Alright, I don't know anything else, shouldn't the clan chief deal with Danzo first now?" Yuji did not want to continue answering. If he kept talking, it would be his turn to be exposed. And if they didn't kill him now, the third Hokage would come, and it would be hard to handle. The Uchiha clansmen nodded one after another, rubbing their hands, their eyes fixed on Danzo, who was paralyzed on the ground, but no one moved rashly, all waiting for Fugaku to give the order. That's right, Fugaku had activated his Susanoo and had a moment of glory. The clan chief's authority was back. Fugaku looked at Danzo, whose limbs were broken and who was poisoned, yet his eyes were still full of resentment, and he smiled slowly. Danzo, I had retreated again and again before, and even just now I intended to spare your life to use for negotiations with Konoha. As soon as these words came out, the Uchiha became restless again, and the way they looked at Fugaku started to change again. The clan chief isn't going soft again, is he? Someone immediately muttered to themselves. Fugaku glared at that person and hurriedly continued with what he had to say. But your eyes let me know that it is impossible for you to spare the Uchiha clan. Today, you must die without a doubt. He raised his hand, about to make a move, but Dugubo had long been unable to watch any longer. Dawdling. He punched Danzo's head hard. After a dull thud, the left half of Danzo's head shattered, and he died on the spot. Fugaku's hand, raised in midair, froze in place, and the scene was exceptionally awkward. The clansmen, however, did not notice this scene at all. Seeing that the great threat had been executed, they immediately cheered loudly. Danzo is dead. Great, the glory of the Uchiha cannot be offended. Let the village see the anger of the Uchiha. Chapter 44, Yu Shaogang, Tang-san was clearly taught by me. Yuji's eye twitched as he looked at the embarrassed Fugaku, unable to help but tease, "Clan chief, why do you look so, not very bright?" Fugaku immediately suppressed his awkwardness, glared at him fiercely, and his aura became sharp once more as he changed the subject. "When do you plan to leave? Are you afraid you won't be able to get past the third Hokage?" Yuji saw through what Fugaku was worried about at a glance. However, he didn't think there was any need to worry so much. When Hiruzen Sarutobi took power for the second time, he had completely lost the heroic bearing of his past days as a ninja legend. He was always compromising. To maintain a facade of peace, he could sacrifice Konoha's face and allow the Uchiha clan to be ostracized. Now, he could naturally abandon the dead Danzo as well. Moreover, what time is it now? During the Nine Tails incident, countless Konoha ninja were killed or injured, and all major ninja clans suffered heavy losses. Only the Uchiha clan's combat power remained intact. Yuji even saw a few who had upgraded from 2 Tomo to 3 Tomo Sharingan because they were so excited about killing Danzo. If he were to question the Uchiha clan again, the Nine Tails incident combined with an Uchiha rebellion might just reignite a ninja world war, and Hiruzen Sarutobi would die with regrets. Therefore, the third Hokage wouldn't be brainless enough to provoke the Uchiha clan like Danzo. Instead, he would turn around and help Fugaku come up with excuses to cover it up. There is a little bit. The third Hokage is not so easy to deal with. Fugaku spoke gravely. It was clear that the image of the third Hokage as a ninja hero was still deeply rooted in people's hearts. This is simple. I'll teach you a method. ... Fugaku's eyes instantly lit up with anticipation, but as soon as the words fell, Yuji's figure suddenly vanished. Huh. His heart tightened, and he quickly turned his head, only to see that Dugubo, along with the captured Tang-san, had also disappeared without a trace. Where are they? They're leaving just like that. You should have told me the method before leaving. Fugaku was mentally collapsing. How am I supposed to handle this now? Before he could clear his thoughts, a voice suppressing anger came from ahead. Fugaku, give me an explanation. Hiruzen Sarutobi, still in his battle gear, had just settled Naruto and finished cleaning up after the Nine Tails incident when he received news that the Uchiha clan had launched a rebellion. He was shocked, hurried over, and saw Danzo, with only half his head left, lying on the ground, along with the celebrating Uchiha clan members. He forced down the anger in his chest, so he didn't declare the Uchiha clan to be in rebellion on the spot. Fugaku stood frozen in place, speechless for a moment. ... New subtitles popped up on the sky canopy. Nine Tails incident instance ended. All participants have been returned to the Duluo continent. Everyone didn't expect there to be such explosive news at the end. Is this Tang-san really a person from another world? It should be. That Danzo Shimura searched his brain and got the information from his memories. I remember now. Didn't the sky canopy say before that Tang-san was a transmigrator from another world? So that's what a transmigrator from another world means. His background is way too big. So that means an outsider took possession of the original Tang-san from our continent. It's terrifying to think about. I'm just curious now, what exactly is that Tang-san's cultivation technique that could make the Uchiha clan chief so excited? Uchiha Fugaku is a titled Duluo level powerhouse. That's not all. The Uchiha clan is a major Konoha clan. They even have Izanami, yet they still look favorably upon that technique. Looking at it this way, doesn't the value of that technique exceed ninjutsu? You can't say it like that. That technique might have some special function. Exceeding ninjutsu? Not quite. Ninjutsu is too broken. A 100,000-year spirit ability is nothing more than this. Doesn't anyone think the poison Duluo is impressive? The other two titled Duluo went and got humiliated, only he fought from start to finish. Indeed, he was powerful throughout the whole scene and even won quite a bit of face for our Duluo continent. Poisoning the Uchiha clan and killing Danzo is truly a terrifying achievement. Thinking about it this way, isn't Spirit Hall the biggest winner? They obtained ninjutsu and, in the end, also obtained Tang-san's cultivation technique. Speaking of this, I want to laugh. This Tang-san even wanted to steal the Uchiha clan's throwing techniques. Unexpectedly, he ended up giving away his own cultivation technique instead. At Shrek Academy, everyone looked at the sky canopy, each with complex expressions. Oscar widened his eyes, full of shock. I never imagined that little San would actually be a person from another world. No wonder his movement techniques and hidden weapons were so strange. It turns out they weren't from this continent at all. He previously claimed they were his own inventions. I feel like a fool for admiring him all this time. Ma Hongjun pouted, feeling quite bitter. Damn it. Dai Mubai's brows were locked tight, his fists clenched. Ma Hongjun, seeing this, quickly advised, Boss Dai, don't overthink it. He was the one who deceived us. Dai Mubai shook his head and slammed a fist into a large tree beside him, causing a few leaves to rustle down from the trunk. Zhu Zuqing stood to the side, knowing that what he was really frustrated about wasn't being deceived, but feeling that he had missed out on an opportunity. If he could have gotten Tang-san's otherworldly cultivation technique back then, it would still have been a great achievement. It might even have been possible to be promoted to Crown Prince. She was even a little tempted. As for how to capture Tang-san, in the face of absolute benefits, a Tang Hao who had been expelled from the Clear Sky sect was nothing. But now that Tang Hao had already taken Tang-san and left, everything had become a pipe dream. Just then, Yu Shaogang finally woke up. After seeing the content on the sky canopy, he instantly became excited and loudly defended himself. Impossible, how could little San be a person from another world? He clearly only realized these things because of my guidance. This is clearly the result of my teaching. Zhu Zuqing stared at Yu Shaogang, dumbfounded. There's an even bigger expert. Huh. The other teachers, even Flender, couldn't bear to watch anymore. Boss Flender, is this Grandmaster not joking? Zhao Wuji, standing to the side, twitched his mouth and turned to look at Flender with a helpless expression. Having fought against Tang-san, he understood best how troublesome Tang-san was. With that kind of movement technique, he was certain that low-level spirit masters wouldn't be able to touch Tang-san at all. And those hidden weapons were even more dangerous. That so-called Dragonbeard needle had even posed a threat to him. At the time, he thought Tang-san had obtained the legacy of some hidden sect. He never expected it to be something from another world. As for it being realized through Yu Shaogang's guidance, what a joke. If you, Yu Shaogang, were that capable, I, Zhao Wuji, would write my name backward. Flender's face was full of embarrassment, and he quickly tried to smooth things over. Shaogang just suffered a shock and his emotions are unstable. Everyone, please bear with him. The people present looked at each other, but no one replied, and the atmosphere became somewhat settled for a moment. Meanwhile, in the depths of the dense forest not far from Shrek Academy, Xiao Wu stared blankly at the Tang-san who had appeared out of thin air. She was completely lost in thought, with countless questions surging in her heart. Was third brother really from another world? What had he experienced in his past life? Were his feelings for her real? And regarding Tang Hao's actions, was he really completely ignorant of them? Chapter 45. Tang-san painfully hands over the mysterious heaven skill. After landing, Tang-san took a long while to recover, his heavy breathing gradually calming down. Lifting his eyes, he caught sight of Xiao Wu's dazed expression and hurriedly stepped forward to ask, Xiao Wu, are you okay? However, Xiao Wu's gaze was unfocused, she did not respond at all. Tang-san felt helpless and had to turn his head to look at Tang Hao beside him. Father, what is wrong with Xiao Wu? Can I even be considered your father? Tang Hao spoke abruptly, his tone filled with coldness, accompanied by a sneer. Tang-san's heart sank abruptly. He knew his identity had been completely exposed, but he could only force himself to remain calm on the surface. You are, of course, my father. The sky canopy stated it clearly, a transmigrator from another world. How do you explain that? Tang Hao scolded sternly. What a useless thing, captured by someone the moment you stepped into the instance dungeon. I, Tang Hao, do not have such a son. Don't call me father again in the future, you are unworthy. Tang-san clenched his fists tightly, his face full of embarrassment. He had not expected that just after ending the endless torture and returning to the Duluo continent, he would encounter such a situation. But he had indeed fallen into the hands of Uchiha Shisui, and at this moment, he could not defend himself. Compared to arguing about winning or losing, he was more afraid of losing this hard-won family affection. He immediately bent his knees and knelt heavily on the ground, his eyes reddening as tears rolled down. Thud. Father, I am indeed not a person of the Duluo continent, but you are my father. In my past life, I was an orphan in the Tang sect. It was only after coming here that I had a father. It was you who let me experience fatherly love. Tang Hao looked at the kneeling Tang-san, his fists tightening and then relaxing. Deep down, he did not want to acknowledge this relationship, but upon remembering the unique otherworldly cultivation technique Tang-san possessed, he ultimately suppressed his anger and let out a long sigh, his tone softening. Forget it, things have reached this point, it is not entirely your fault. The cold glint in Tang Hao's eyes receded slightly, though his tone remained stern, dissecting the current deadlock word by word. I can continue to acknowledge you as my son, but remember this. The entire continent now knows the secret of your otherworldly legacy. That so-called Tang sect legacy is enough to make the major powers take risks. From now on, you will be a piece of fat in the eyes of all powers, without support, facing a dead end at every step. The only path to survival is to return to the Clear Sky sect, borrow the sect's great momentum to protect yourself, and suppress those covetous people from all directions. Speaking to this point, his tone suddenly sank, carrying deep dissatisfaction. Yet, in the instance dungeon, you used the Clear Sky hammer and were still easily crushed by that Uchiha youth, losing all the face of the Clear Sky sect. Based on this alone, the sect will never easily allow your return. Tang-san knelt on the ground, instantly and thoroughly recognizing his desperate situation. Without the protection of a power, possessing the Tang sect legacy, and with the entire continent eyeing him like a tiger, if he remained alone outside, it would not take long before he would inevitably be captured, killed, and robbed, leaving no corpse behind. But he had not expected Tang Hao to still analyze the situation for him. The unhappiness from Tang Hao's scolding was completely cast to the back of his mind. At this moment, he only felt incredibly fortunate. In the midst of crisis, he still had his father to point out a path to survival. Immense gratitude surged into his heart, and tears rolled down again. He kowtowed heavily on the ground, his voice earnest and urgent. Father, I know I was wrong. I have nowhere to advance or retreat now. I beg you to teach me how to break this deadlock. Tang Hao looked at his completely submissive appearance, his inner anger completely dissipating. A trace of satisfaction flashed in his eyes as he slowly revealed his true purpose. Unless you contribute that cultivation technique. That cultivation technique is not simple. Even the Uchiha clan chief in the sky canopy was tempted. Using this as a contribution to return to the sect is absolutely not a problem. Upon hearing this, Tang-san's heart stirred slightly. Thinking of Shisui who defeated him, he was also from the Uchiha clan. Even their clan chief coveted his Tang sect cultivation technique, which was enough to prove the power of the Tang sect. A hint of pride could not help but arise in his heart. But in an instant, this pride was replaced by anxiety. The Tang sect cultivation technique was the foundation of everything for him and his greatest trump card for standing in this world. Handing over the complete version was equivalent to cutting off his own foundation. But looking at Tang Hao's irrefutable gaze, he instantly understood the pros and cons. If he did not hand over the cultivation technique, he would either be hunted to death by the entire continent or completely abandoned by his father, left with nothing. He did not want to lose this hard-won fatherly love. Tang-san's thoughts raced, and he instantly had a plan, a castrated version of the mysterious heaven skill. Remove the core essence, retain the superficial cultivation effects, and outsiders would simply be unable to distinguish the truth from the fake. He could fool the Clear Sky sect, preserve his own foundation, and successfully return to the sect to borrow its power for self-preservation. However, Tang-san did not expect that his cultivation technique had already been leaked. Father, I have decided. I will hand over the mysterious heaven skill. He suppressed the schemes in his heart, looked up directly at Tang Hao, his expression firm, pretending to be in pain as he sacrificed his beloved item. Father, I have thought it through. In order to return to the sect, I am willing to offer the mysterious heaven skill. Good, this is the son of me, Tang Hao. A genuine smile finally appeared on Tang Hao's face. He reached out to steadily help Tang-san up, patted his shoulder heavily, his tone full of approval. A sense of satisfaction instantly surged in Tang-san's heart. As long as his father was happy, everything was worth it. Xiao Wu stood quietly on the side, having heard the conversation between the father and son clearly. She knew that the cold look in Tang Hao's eyes when watching Tang-san on the sky canopy earlier was simply not the look of a father. If they, father and son, were calculating against each other like this, then what did she count for? She bit her lip slightly, and for the first time, there was strangeness and coldness in the eyes she looked at Tang-san with. She gently took half a step back, opening up a subtle distance. Tang-san caught a glimpse of Xiao Wu's movement, and his heart suddenly panicked. He could handle Tang Hao, but he feared most that Xiao Wu would develop a rift with him. He hurriedly stood up, wanting to take Xiao Wu's hand. Xiao Wu, listen to my explanation. But Xiao Wu dodged away, head lowered, her voice carrying an unprecedented coldness and exhaustion, interrupting Tang-san's defense. Tang-san, let me have some quiet. ... Inside the Supreme Pontiff Palace of Spirit Hall, the air was tense to the extreme. The next second, the space twisted slightly, and Du Gubo's figure landed out of thin air. All the consecrators and elders in the palace instantly perked up, their hanging hearts suddenly dropping, and they gathered around him, their eyes full of urgency. Elder Dugu, how is the battle situation? You got the ninjutsu scroll, right? Are those forbidden techniques, Izanagi and Izanami, on you? Hurry and take them out for us to see. The crowd of consecrators scrambled to ask, completely devoid of their usual composure and solemnity. Even Qian Dalyu, who was always detached and calm like an ancient well, could not suppress the curiosity in his heart at this moment. He slowly stepped forward, his gaze burning. This old man also wants to witness the mysteries within with my own eyes. The attention of everyone in the hall was locked tightly onto Du Gubo. Only Bibi Dong stood on the high platform, her eyebrows tightly furrowed. Her gaze swept across the entire hall, but she could not see that familiar figure of the youth. Du Gubo had returned, but Yuji had not. An extreme sense of unease instantly gripped her heart. Quiet. A cold and majestic reprimand suddenly resounded throughout the entire Supreme Pontiff Palace. Chapter 46, The Origin of the Sky Canopy. The noisy elders were taken aback, turning their heads toward the high platform with puzzled faces, wondering why the Supreme Pontiff had suddenly become enraged. Bibi Dong stared straight at Du Gubo, her voice filled with unprecedented urgency and coldness. Du Gubo, where is Xiaoji? Du Gubo was stunned upon hearing this, instinctively looking around, his heart sinking abruptly. Only now did he realize with shock that Yuji, who should have returned with him, was nowhere to be found. Your Majesty, I don't know. We clearly returned together. You don't know. Bibi Dong's eyes turned icy, the pent-up worry instantly transforming into monstrous rage. I told you to protect the saint the entire time. Keep him safe. Now the saint is missing, and you know absolutely nothing. Boom, a terrifying aura instantly swept through the entire Supreme Pontiff Palace. The massive spirit power of a level 99 limit Duluo erupted completely, without reservation. A purple-black energy storm swept in all directions, causing the stone pillars in the hall to tremble. The various elders and officiants struggled to hold on, their bones creaking as they found it difficult to withstand this terrifying aura that could be called the peak of the continent. In the entire hall, only Qian Dalyu and Gold Crocodile Duluo could ignore this aura. Yet, at this moment, the usual calm and relaxed expressions were gone from their faces. Watching the vigorous spirit power surrounding Bibi Dong, Qian Dalyu was deeply shocked. She has actually reached level 99. He was the only one in the hall who could suppress Bibi Dong, who was currently in an unstable state, so he immediately released his own aura. A holy and massive angelic aura spread out, and the oppressive atmosphere suddenly eased. Gold and purple-black stood in distinct contrast, forcibly splitting the entire hall in two. Enough, Bibi Dong, Qian Dalyu sternly reprimanded, this matter cannot be blamed on Du Gubo. We watched them leave, it is very likely that Yuji was kept behind by the sky canopy. After all, he performed the best. Perhaps there is a reward. Bibi Dong's chest heaved. In the past, she would have already gone mad. After several deep breaths, she suppressed her surging murderous intent and said coldly, fine, I will wait a little longer. The hearts of everyone hanging in suspense finally dropped, but the gazes they directed at her held a few more traces of deep trepidation. On the other side, Yuji found himself in a vast expanse of white fog. The surroundings were empty and boundless, and he could not hear a single sound. Is anyone there? He shouted, but only dead silence responded to him. Which senior is it? Or is it the sky canopy? Could it be the system? As soon as he finished speaking, the entire space trembled violently. A cold, mechanical voice abruptly sounded, host successfully identified. The next second, a familiar room appeared out of thin air. Yuji was both surprised and delighted. Could it be that my system has finally arrived? I've already conquered Bibi Dong, and the system only comes now. So this is what my script was like. He quickly pushed the door open and entered. As his gaze swept over the furnishings in the room, everything went black before his eyes. Before him was clearly the room he lived in during his past life, the computer, bookshelf, and the slightly messy bed. Everything was exactly the same as when he left, as if he had just gone downstairs to pick up a package. Yuji's mind went blank. Instinctively, he walked over to the computer and sat down. Through muscle memory, he raised his hand and clicked on the screen. The content that popped up on the interface instantly stirred up sealed memories. Please select a spirit to travel to the Duluo continent. A Sharingan. B. Blue Silver Grass. C. Clear Sky Hammer. He had been playing a game at the time, and suddenly this thing popped out, and no matter how he tried to delete it, he couldn't. He even thought he had caught a virus. Then, in a moment of stupidity, he clicked it. Of course, he clicked A. Why would he choose Blue Silver Grass or the Clear Sky Hammer when he could have the Sharingan? And then, there was no then. The next second, the world spun, and he directly descended into the Spirit Hall's Elder Hall. This was also the reason why he had known about his own spirit early on. Just as he was reminiscing about the past, the screen display suddenly switched, and an electronic letter appeared. Hello, host, I am System 10089. When you see this letter, it means I have run away. Seeing this, Yuji's eyes widened immediately. Huh. The opening was too explosive, it completely captured Yuji's attention, and he continued reading. Thinking back, I selected you, and originally everything was normal as I completed the transmigration quota. During the transmigration, we encountered powerful beings battling, and so we lost contact. As for the final result, you ended up in a certain parallel universe of the Duluo continent. The number of universes is countless, and I don't know which parallel universe it is. There are too many, I can't just look for you one by one. It's too tiring for the system. Reading this, Yuji could almost visualize the other party's slacker appearance in his mind, and he was so angry that his teeth itched. He really wanted to report it. The very next sentence in the letter was, hee hee, stupid host. Don't even think about reporting me. You don't even know where to report it. Yuji was instantly furious. Just kidding, host. Of course, I wouldn't be irresponsible, so I split off a subsystem. Searching for you world by world. The sky canopy is popular now, so what I split off was the sky canopy. Am I clever or what? When the sky canopy finds you, it will automatically form the first video to play based on your predicament and then form a copy. After passing the first copy, you will be able to come here and then control the sky canopy. Holy shit, you bastard system. Yuji felt a lingering fear upon seeing this. If I had been sexually repressed at the time, wouldn't you have formed an adult film copy? A few lines of text slowly appeared at the end of the letter. For the operating details of the sky canopy, please consult the file yourself. Finally, I wish you all the best. Goodbye. Oh no, it's never see you again. Don't come looking for me, lest you ruin my perfect rating. After reading all this, Yuji didn't know what to say. A mouthful of complaints was stuck in his throat, but the other party had already slipped away, and he didn't even have a target to vent on. He shook his head and simply stopped dwelling on this unreliable culprit. Fine, what's done is done, let's first look at the operating instructions for the sky canopy. His naturally optimistic temperament allowed him to quickly